Flosstube. My name is Ria and I am the Blue Coast Stitcher, and welcome to my channel. Whether you are first time watching one of my Flosstubes or you're a returning viewer, welcome to my cozy, quiet little corner of the Flosstube world. Grab a beverage. I'm just drinking my usual tea and one of my favorite mugs. So pretty. All right, it's been a long time. It's been about 2 months, I would think, ish. Life has been lifing, work, all kinds of stuff. It's also been just over 2 years since I filmed my very first Flosstube. That was back in early September 2023. And we had just sold our house where we had lived for over 20 years, and we're getting ready for a major move a few hours away to where we are now living, to be closer to my in-laws. And so I was just filming some of my kidded projects as I was packing. I can't even remember if I shared any whips. I might have had a whip on the go because we were packing. So excuse me, my throat. So yeah, that was my very first Flosstube, and now it's been almost 2 years in this new house. It'll be 2 years at the end of this month, and we have settled. I have my bookshelves. I'm in my office. So let me introduce me. My name is Ria. I'm a holistic nutritionist, avid crafter. Cross stitch is my main crafting choice right now. I've done paper crafting, card making, all that stuff. I'm hoping to learn how to knit. I've done some knitting years ago. My mom was a master knitter, and so I've done some knitting, but it's been a very long time. I've also done some crocheting, very long time. So one of my goals is at some point to learn how to knit again. And life has been lifing. It's been busy, work, etc. So that knitting, learn to knit, is kind of on the back burner, but it's there. I'm researching it. I have 3 adult children and been married for, doing math, 33 years. What else? We have 2 rescue kitties, Athena and Artemis, and I have a house close to the shores of Lake Huron here in southwestern Ontario, Canada. And today is definitely Canadian Thanksgiving. It's a quiet day. My son was supposed to come down this weekend with his girlfriend for the weekend, but they have pet rats. They have 2. They used to have 3. They're down to 2, and one of them is sick. So they're staying home because they have to give the rat medicine. So anyways, they're really cute. They were here for Christmas and they're really cute. I'm not a mouse or rat fan. I mean, Lord knows we have enough field mice around here that Athena has killed the odd one, but these are cute. What has been going on? I made notes because there's been a lot. So summer was summer. It was a very hot and hazy summer here in southwestern Ontario. We're just getting over a drought. It was really dry, really dry. And our oldest Laura was, in my last video, I talked about our oldest Laura. She's now 30. She lives in England. She went to school for a PhD in planetary sciences at University of Glasgow and now has a job in England, south of Oxford. And she was supposed to come home, and she had one of her best friends from high school was getting married, and so she was coming home. I think she was supposed to land the 18th of August, so that she could go that weekend to the bachelorette party, because she really wanted to, catch up with her girlfriend. She hasn't been able to meet with her face to face because she's been overseas since 2020. And then the wedding was supposed to be the following Wednesday. It was in the middle of the week in downtown Kitchener. So we had everything planned, and then the Air Canada strike happened. And we watched and we waited and we waited and we watched. And we knew, because they weren't canceling flights too far in advance because they were in negotiations with the union. And, you know, fingers crossed. But unfortunately, Laura's original flight was canceled. So we had to kind of re-scramble our plans and ideas for her visit. It ended up being shorter than originally planned. She ended up getting a refund from Air Canada for both flights because she had to Toronto and back again to Heathrow. And she got her refund back, and the problem was some of the other airlines were really increasing the cost of their seats on some of these flights, knowing people were desperate. So some of the seats were an outrageous, like, oh my God, who would pay this kind of price? Laura found a good price on an air transit flights from Heathrow to Toronto and back again. So she booked those, which means she ended up coming home later than expected. She came home the Saturday of the bachelorette party weekend. So she missed the bachelorette party. She also missed my birthday. So Dave and Amanda took me out for dinner because, you know, I had plans to have Laura home for my birthday, and her birthday was the 31st of August. Mine was the 21st. Excuse me. So anyways, she made it here safe and sound. She missed the bachelorette party. It is what it is. She doesn't really have her license anymore, so we had to drive her to Kitchener. We took her out for dinner in Kitchener the day before the wedding, which was like, I think, Wednesday the 26th, the Wednesday before Labor Day weekend. And Labor Day weekend came early this year. So we took her out for dinner, dropped her off at the hotel. She had a wonderful day, met up with some old friends who were also staying at the same hotel as she was in Kitchener, and she had a wonderful time at the wedding. Dave picked her up Thursday morning because I had some things to do, because we had a huge party of, I think we had about 30 people. Dave comes from a big family. My husband Dave, he's one of 5 kids, and all 5 kids have spouses and children. And we have one nephew and his wife have a son. So one great nephew, a great grandchild for my in-laws. So we had 30 people that we were hosting on the 31st to celebrate Laura's 30th, and also because we didn't have the annual Jenkins get together at Christmas time last year because COVID was in our house and COVID was in my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's house as well. So we all isolated ourselves, and unfortunately, because we wanted to, you know, get together, Dave's parents are getting older. They enjoy these big get-togethers. So, and Laura wanted to see everyone because she hadn't seen her cousins since long before she left. She left September 2020, and we know what happened to 2020 and beyond. So finally, she was able to see all of her cousins except for one. She couldn't make it. She lives in Montreal. She couldn't make it down, her and her husband. So it was wonderful. And it was a lot of people, a lot of food. We had purchased a new barbecue earlier in the season, and so we did burgers, veggie burgers, beef burgers, chicken burgers, salmon burgers, you name it, we burgered it and ate it. And everybody brought salads, and I ordered my daughter-in-law's gluten-free, celiac, so gluten-free cupcakes and pies, and then somebody else made cheesecake, and it was a really good success, and it was exhausted. And then it was September 1st, and then we wrapped up our days with Laura, and she went back to England a few days later, I think the Wednesday or the Thursday. We dropped her off at the airport, and she made it home safe and sound. September was busy. We also had Dave's sky shed. So this was also going on this summer. My husband does astrophotography, and his sky shed has been a work in progress for about a year. And it's finally complete. So when did it was before the party. It was early August. We had the electricians come in, and because he needed Wi-Fi and electricity for his telescopes and etc. And so they dug a huge trench. There's something in my front yard, a huge trench across from the underneath Dave's office window to his sky shed. So we had this huge trench going across her backyard, digging into my gardens, ripping up some of my plants. My hollyhock survived. I had a mullein. Last year I planted a mullein that didn't do so well, and my mullein was doing really well. And they plowed pretty much right through it, but it came back. It's not blooming, but it came back, so I'm happy. Athena thought the trench was a litter box. That's her one cat. She goes in the backyard. So, and then we had to clean it up, seed it, topsoil it, and then people coming over. It was just chaos. And then he got his scopes, his telescopes and equipment, etc., cameras, into the sky shed in September, so that he's now doing some imaging. He hasn't shared anything on his Instagram page yet. I will link his Instagram page down below, and you can see some of his older work from before we moved, and then he just did some photography after we moved. Just a couple images, but you can see the images that he has taken with his telescopes and the equipment he uses. It's very impressive, and I will link that below. What else has been going on? We went to Manitoulin Island, and for a weekend, the end of September, we took the convertible. It was the perfect weekend. We've had very warm, dry weather, but it was a perfect weekend. What else? Hiked the Cup and Saucer Trail. If you know Manitoulin Island, it's the largest, is it the largest freshwater island in North America? We had to take a ferry. So you drive up, if you know Ontario, you drive up the coast of Lake Huron to Tobermory, catch a ferry. It's about 2 hours. We thought it was longer, but the last time we took the ferry, we had kids. So it seemed a lot longer. We thought it was at least 3 hours. It's only 2. And we were looking at each other. Last time we had kids, so of course it seemed like over 3 hours, because oh my God, you had to keep kids entertained on a boat without them falling over. Anyways, it was a perfect weekend. Stayed at a hotel in Little Current by the bridge, by the swing bridge. Did a lot of driving, did some exploring, found a cute little shop. Got a beautiful Irish sweater. Dave got some slippers. Aaron knit sweater, beautiful. And what else happened? Cup and Saucer Trail, that was good. I haven't hiked in ages. Around here it's pretty flat, so it was wonderful to be able to have to climb hills, etc. Anyways, so that was going on. And then last weekend, we were at a friend's cottage up in Dorset, Ontario, which is Lake of Bays. So it's north and east of Toronto. So we're thinking, you know, Huntsville, Bracebridge, in that direction, if you know Ontario. And we were there. They have a cottage on the lake. And so we spent the weekend there. Saturday was boating, hiking, exploring. It's a heck of a drive now that we live here. When we lived in Kitchener-Waterloo, it wasn't that big of a drive. Now it's a full day's drive there and a full day's drive back. So we went Friday, came home Sunday night. And now I'm home, and I can't think of anything else that was major, but that was a lot, and we're already 15 minutes in. So let's get into why we're here. In my first time in Flosstube history of my Flosstube, I have not one, but 2 FFOs, fully finished objects. So for my birthday, I'll show you the first one. It's the biggest one. I got gifted money towards framing one of my finished pieces. We found a excellent framer here in this area. She is exceptionally talented, and it's my Isabella's heart. Unfortunately, there's a glare. You're gonna see my front window. I don't think the camera's picking out the subtle gravings. So this was my birthday present. One of my birthday presents. This was the big birthday present. And so that's Isabella's heart, and it's on 32 count blank slate. I picked it up at my very first Stitch North Retreat in 2022. Finished it, I don't remember. I think it was earlier this year. And it got framed in August. Who am I? Sorry, did not want that to fall. If you know me, I'm not one that really finished, like there's a lot. They can pump out the projects really fast and finish complete. Like they're fast stitchers, salt bulk stitcher, Ellen, maximum cross stitch, cardamom pins. You know who I'm talking about. There's all kinds. I'm one of those slow and steady. I get there when I get there. So to have a finish, let alone a fully finished object, is beyond exciting for me. But I also have a second one. It's not as big. It's my first. Come on, come on, come on. Focus. Small. Don't bump. There it is. And then there's the back. I just put my. Come on. This is my phone and it's, there we go. So there it is. My very first small. I am partaking in the quintessential Frisian smalls stitch along, and this was August's project, and I actually finished it in August before Laura came home. And then the rest is, well, I haven't finished anything else since, but I will fill you in later on that. But this is my second fully finished object, and I am so excited. It is so cute. It's my first small. It's not perfect. At the end, you know how you have to kind of stitch this together, and then you need an opening to stuff it, and then you have to finish sewing up the opening after you've done stuffing. And it's not perfect, a little fiddly, but it was, many lessons were learned, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm so excited. So 2 fully finished objects. Like I said, who am I? Who is this new person? Okay, next. Whips. Whips, whips, whips. I am missing one. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we're going to just start off after this. So I did this in August. And then September happened. September, it's been a busy, not as much stitching as I would have liked to been able to do. Just, it is what it is. So it's the quintessential Frisian smalls with Evertote, Roxy Floss Co., and Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery. They have a Facebook group where Jacob posts videos on how to finish each project. So August, September, and this is October's. I have yet to start this one. I will soon. The little scissor thing. So I finished the actual stitching. Still has to be put together. This is a 32 count porcelain. Valu red is the thread, and I've got my cording done. Of course, it's not going to show perfect, but the cord is done. So I just have to get the cording in there. It's going to go like this. I have to tidy up the one end. I've got to follow Jacob's tutorial. So I'll get the cording in. There's a way to do it. Jacob shows you how to do it. And just sew it, stuff it, call it a day. And then I have to start the biscorn. And so with these smalls, Jacob's designed them based on samplers in his collection from the area of Friesland. I'm Frisian as well, but my roots are in a different location than his. His is more southwestern Frisian, I think. So it's Hindelopen is the area, And so this is like one of the samplers that he's used as inspiration. There's a couple others in the book. This is a book that I think will be in my collection to be used time and time again. I have completed one small, almost done the second, and I will start my third. Not ready yet for smalls exchanges. I am a slow stitcher. My life doesn't always allow me to stitch as much as I like, and I don't like deadlines. I never have. Deadlines aren't fun. I don't like it. Too much pressure. So I have two other WIPs that I've worked on. Yeah, summer, busy. So in my previous video, I talked about Mirror May. I started the Athena. It was my very first Mirabilia, and it was the Goddess Athena. And I worked on a little past May, I think well into June, almost July. I can't remember. It's been so, whatever. And so I decided for the rest of the summer, because it was going to be so busy and lots going on with electricians digging up my yard and in my house and among other things, something that is just one color, and I'm well into it, so it goes onto my floor stand, and that's what I just focused on. It was just easy to pick up and walk away when I'm done stitching for whatever day it is. I didn't stitch every day until recently, so whenever I could have an evening or some time to sit down and stitch, this was perfect because it was monochromatic, one color. It's another modern folk embroidery. It is Winter Kaleidoscope by Jacob. And I have it on 32 count dirty porcelain. And mulberry is the thread I used. It's on my scroll frame. So I've mentioned this before. I have quite a few on-the-go projects on scroll frames. So I've done a mailing tag with the name of the project and then some acid-free twine from my scrapbooking days. So let me make sure. Okay. So I might have to stand up for this, sorry. Okay, so when I last put it down, I was just starting over here, I believe. No, I was over here. I was getting, yeah, that was it. I was starting this section here. So I finished all this, and then I started over here. And the lighting, it's the time of year. And I think because it's getting close to the end of the day, because it's afternoon. Anyways, I did all this, and then I started there. And I did that till Laura got here. And then nothing happened. And then we had the big party on the 31st. And then it was September 1st, which is Sampler September. So my Sampler September was off to a slow but late start. It didn't start on September 1st because, well, I hosted 30 people the day before, socially hungover. My introvert soul was going through hangover mode. And we had to get Laura ready to go back to England. So I eventually started, of course, it's through Evertote Roxy Floss Co. And this time it was Maximum Cross Stitch Ellen. Jane Wood, 1853. Mine is on 40 count Speculas with the called for Roxy Floss Co. thread. And I got the kit for the big sampler and the big pin cushion. if you go on Instagram, you will see there is a ton of people with some amazing progress. Cardamom Pins is doing a stitch along. She broke it down in sections, and I don't do stitch alongs too well because I can never ever keep up. So anyways, I did the center start. I wanted to start on the house because that is a gorgeous house. So this is as far as I have managed to get for the month of September. Keep in mind, I have not been able to stitch every day. And there's been sometimes like multi-day stretches where not a single thread cross went into the fabric. So all things considered, I did well. This here is piggy bank. So, because I started here, I was doing this, and then I got down to piggy bank. And because I ordered the floss, the pack, the kit, whatever, to do both. Sorry. The big sampler and the pin cushion. I got extra fabric, of course. And then some of the floss, you needed more skeins, and piggy bank was one of them. But inadvertently, and I realized that as I hauled out my piggy bank to start threading, because there's a lot of pink in this house, and right, there's a lot of pink all over. I had 2 different dye lots of piggy bank, and they were really different. So Hannah, reached out to Hannah, and she's like, oops. So they sent me new floss from the same dye lot. So I have extra piggy bank now. And so the one was really dark and one was lighter. So the 2 flosses they sent me to replace, and they showed up really quick. This is before Canada Post went on strike again. Matched the lighter shade of the 2 piggy banks that I had. So I have extra piggy bank. One is a lot darker than the other, but that's okay. It's still gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Oh. I will be right back. I have dough rising in the oven, so I hear my oven beeping. Just 1 second. I apologize for that. I am back. So I had to talk to Dave real quick. While I was videoed, my window overlooks the front yard, and Dave had been to his mother and father's house for a few things. And he had come back while I was filming. I saw him, but then I saw him running across the front yard. And it turns out one of the lakefront properties down the street and across, they lost a huge branch on one of the really old maple trees, and didn't land on anybody, didn't land on a vehicle. It was loud. And he, of course, was concerned because it's dangerous. We had, I think there was this past spring, a woman up in a small town by Ottawa. She was killed. She was out for a morning walk, and a tree branch fell and killed her. One of those fluke accidents. And so he ran to the neighbors, and everybody's fine. The tree's not. So now he has to call an arborist, the neighbor. It's, their property used to be an old campground, because this is all lakefront across the street. So some of the trees are quite old, from 100 years or so, right? Back when this was mostly cottage country. Now it's all people living here, so it's kind of interesting. Anyways, everything's fine. All right, where was I? So I talked about Jane Wood. I talked about the Winter Kaleidoscope, my whips. Haul. Not too much haul. So if you follow Caroline and Carrie at Evertote and Roxy Floss Co., they talked about the changes in their subscriptions, the fabric, floss, and project bag subscriptions. Due to the current U.S. administration, there's been a lot of upheaval and changes for people shipping to and from the U.S. And so they had to cancel the subscriptions and then restart them. It was like not even a week between cancellation and restarting them, I think. They shared it in their videos to accommodate the extra costs that they need to tack on to the subscriptions that are going to the US to pay for the tariffs. So just before all that happened, I'm doing the ABC Floss Club. So I got the latest, of course, and it was just before they canceled it. So this is 8 of 30. And of course, I dropped it. So I think it starts with Dijon, yes, and goes to Earl Grey, I believe. But yeah. Anyways, if you go on their website, it's just, I love the colors. Which one's this? Oh, Dreamscape. That is a pretty white. It's a nice, cool. So that is about the only haul I have right now because I haven't gone anywhere. I did re-sign up for their Floss Club, Fabric Club. I do the traditional. I bumped mine up. I was doing 28 count, so now I'm at 36 count because I got enough 28 count. I don't stitch too much on 28 count, so I bumped it up to 36 count. And then the Fabric Club as well I signed up for. And they started a Patreon channel as well around the same time to better service everyone that is a fan and customer of theirs. And so I signed up for the Patreon club. I did not sign up for the highest one. I think is it 3? I don't think they have 5 tiers. I think I signed up for tier 3. I don't remember. I've enjoyed it. I haven't had a chance to really dive into it. Like I said, life has been lifing here for me. That's all good. It's just life has been lifing. And but there was one of the recent videos. I have to finish it. Excuse me. Caroline went to Toronto to Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch Ellen, and got to see, oh my God, talk about a prolific stitcher. Ellen, oh my God, some beautiful pieces, and you get kind of a behind the scenes look. I have to finish the video, but oh my goodness, her house is stunning with some beautiful stitching that she's completed over the years. Just stunning. What else? Oh, we found an antique market near, just outside of Grand Bend. I have a tickle in my throat. And it was just it's just outside of Grand Bend. And it had some neat, it's one of those things you kind of explore, you have fun. And then I just picked up, just for the hell of it, because I like this for my studio downstairs, some antique textile mill bobbins. And this one still has some cotton on it, it looks like, right? I assume it's dirty. It's kind of, it's left over from wherever this mill this came from. But yeah, and I thought this was so much fun. I thought, oh, maybe I could one day, now that I'm mastering the art of fully finishing stuff. I don't know, we'll see. It's just fun. It sits on the windowsill in my studio. I am a reader, so I got some books. Some stitchy related, some not. So if you're not interested, this is it for stitchy. I'm going to talk about my plans, but it's no big deal. Stitch North. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But that's it. So now we're going on to books. If you want to stay, great. If not, it's okay. So got a library card from our local library. And just, you know, some light reads, right? Summer light reading. Well, I guess it's not summer anymore. Feels like it. I just finished this one. Of course, there's a glare. Cooking the Books. It's a murder mystery. Typical formula of some of these murder mysteries, but very light, fun read. Letitia Tish Tarragon moves to Hobson Glen and opens a new restaurant and catering business. And of course, in her, you know, her first catering job, somebody gets murdered. And she starts becoming the sleuth and solves the murder. Anyways, this book, my daughter Laura, who lives in England, gifted this to me. It's called Republic, Britain's Revolutionary Decade from 1649 to 1660. So, I'm a history nut. I love history. And this is about the Cromwell years. And I remember hearing about the British Civil War. parliamentarians versus the royalists, and that Charles I was executed, and then Cromwell and his people kind of ran the country, England, Scotland, and Wales, until Charles II reclaimed the throne, came back from over in Europe, and then you have the Restoration period. I kind of knew the basics of this. This dives into that time period of, it starts off with the execution of Charles I and takes you through what was happening. It's interesting, and it was a very tumultuous time period in the history of Britain. You know, of course, Ireland took a beating by Cromwell and his people, and it's interesting. So it was written by Alice Hunt. So Laura picked it up when she lives close to Oxford. So she went to Oxford, I think it was the Ashmolean. She picked it up there, museum. And it just talks about that time period, what was happening. Under the leadership of soldier statesman Oliver Cromwell. So I remember when we were doing Edinburgh Castle in 2022 with Laura, they talked about how he and his troops were in the castle and they destroyed some historical pieces in different buildings. And apparently that was their shtick. They were very religiously devout, Puritans, I believe, and learning about what he did kind of left a sour taste in my mouth when it comes to him. So this is kind of giving a little more meat on the bones of the story that I did know. Yeah, and so I'm about 2/3 in. I highly recommend, if you're into history, especially this time period that nobody really talks about. They talk about the war leading up to this, and then you get snippets, at least here in Canada. I'm sure in England maybe you get a bit more in depth. But anyways, I am currently reading this. And then I got 4 more books. One is not Stitchy related. The rest is Stitchy related. This came over. I saw this coming out. It came from Scotland. How to Kill a Witch. The Patriarchy's Guide to Silencing Women. And it is diving into the chaos that was the Reformation, the witch trials that was going on. Specifically, I think it focuses on Scotland. I haven't read it yet. It's the authors host the Witches of Scotland podcast, and it says, unravel the grim yet absurdly bureaucratic process of identifying, accusing, trying, and executing women as witches. With sharp wit and keen feminist insight, they reveal the inner workings of a patriarchal system designed to weaponize fear and oppress women. Some things never change. I've read another book by a historian on the witch trials internationally, and a lot of experts will say if the accused was brought before an ecclesiastical, religious tribunal, the fate of them was much more dire and violent than if they were brought before a more secular tribunal. So it'll be interesting to see how this happens, what they flesh out on these stories. They've got their references here. So yeah, be interesting. I think they don't focus just on Scotland. A powerful, darkly humorous reminder of the dangers of superstition, bias, and ignorance, and a warning to never forget the past while raising the question of whether it could ever happen again. And that is my concern, because you're seeing a lot of rise in white Christian nationalism, and yeah, not good. Okay, the rest are stitching related. This is by Claire Hunter, Threads of Life, A History Through the Eye of a Needle. And this is a blend of history and memoir, an evocative and moving book about the need we all have to tell our story. takes us from political propaganda in medieval France to secret treason in Tudor England. So it looks interesting. Threads of Life. I've yet to read it. It's on my to-read pile. Next one is also by Claire Hunter. Embroidering Her Truth. And it's about Mary, Queen of Scots. 16th century Europe, women's voices were suppressed and silenced. And despite her royal position, Mary, Queen of Scots was no exception. In an age when textiles expressed power, Mary exploited them to emphasize her female agency. And it's a cultural biography. So when we were in Scotland in 2022, we were in Holyrood Palace, and you could see some of Mary, Queen of Scots cross-stitch and embroidery pieces that she completed. And they were in the space that was her apartments at the time. And then this one is more of an independent published book called The Red Dress, Conversations in Stitch. And this is a project, British artist Kirsty MacLeod, and created by 380 individuals from 51 countries from 2009 to 2023. And so I haven't really had a chance to look at it. It came when life was crazy. And it's a dress that has basically traveled the world, and embroiderers from all over the world have stitched something on this dress. And it's just, here's one of the people that worked on it. Oops, comes with a bookmark. That fell out. It was part of I think it was like a crowdfunding. Yeah, so here, the embroiderer's story. The embroiderer calls herself a woman without voice, a qualified architect educated in Iran and France, born in Iran but left after the Islamic Revolution. She has traveled widely and lived in many different countries, including Nepal for 20 years, and currently lives in the UK. And that talks about some of her stitching that she did. And I dropped my bookmark again. So it's like a story of the dress traveling and the people that worked on it in all these different countries. Yeah, here's one, the Rocco Embroidery Group stitching onto the red dress in Mexico in 2020. And somebody's wearing it. Well, somebody. So it's a fascinating how needleworkers across the world, and it shares stories, etc. So, anyways, sorry, that is on my to-do list, to-read list, not to-do list, to-read list. So knitting. I mentioned my mom was a master knitter. I did knit a little bit years ago, but I have forgotten. I want to learn. So my daughter Amanda has been going to Grandma and Grandpa's, my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house, just helping her clean up spaces. My mother-in-law, she's, in her 80s and doesn't have the same physical strength and stamina she used to. And Amanda is looking for a job, so she helps out Grandma every week or every 2 weeks. And they were in the basement where the kids' bedrooms used to be. They used to have Camp Jenkins. All the grandkids would come. And they found some items that my mom knitted that we know this. My mom would knit stuff for the kids, the grandkids. Laura loved pillows, and she loved blue. I love blue too. And so my mom knitted this starfish. So we think Laura left it at Grandma and Grandpa's when she was little because it was a pillow, because she loved hanging onto her pillow. She's my pillow girl. And she had one that she took with her everywhere. And she loved this one, but we think she left it at Grandma and Grandpa's because Grandma and Grandpa's house is by the lake, hence the starfish. So we think that's what happened. So it was a bit musty, so I cleaned it up. It's going to go in Laura's bedroom downstairs when she visits. And then my mom knitted a lot of stuffed animals and dolls. So this is a little doll she knitted. And we can't remember who exactly it was for, because sometimes she knitted for my other nieces as well. We think it was for maybe my daughter Amanda, the one who's cleaning, or it was our niece, one of our nieces like Jennifer or something. We're not sure. But it made it home. So my mom knitted sweaters, but when the kids were little, she loved making the dolls. I have a huge wicker basket chest full of toys that she made for my kids. So this will go in that chest so it stays safe. It's wicker so it can breathe. And then this will go in Laura's. Okay, so that's it. Plans. Stitch North with Jeanette Douglas is 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks today it'll be done. But, so just under 2 weeks, I will be going down. I leave the Thursday, I think it's the 23rd of October. And so about a week and a half, I will be heading down to Brampton, up to Brampton. I guess now I'm going northeast to Brampton, and I'll be there for the weekend. I have never stitched a Jeanette Douglas. I have some patterns of hers, but I have yet to stitch anything of hers. I'm excited because she does a lot of specialty stitching in her projects, it looks like, not just cross stitching. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say, share her insights, share her wisdom, and of course, meet with stitchers. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's a big thing. And then there will definitely be haul from that. How can there not be? I ordered the Jeanette Douglas. If you go to the Evertote website, if you're an attendee, you can order a couple of Jeanette Douglas kits, patterns with everything that you can pick up when you get there for that weekend. So I've done that. Of course, there's be other things I'll see, fabric, kits, patterns. I'm not sure. Usually the fall, Stitch North, at least the last one or two, there really haven't been other vendors, but I think there might be a couple other, I don't know. I'll have to see what they say on the Stitch North Facebook page, and usually Hannah sends an email of vendors, or maybe she already did and I just didn't pay attention. So I'm going to focus on getting that Biscorno started at least for the Quintessential Frisian Smalls for October. I ordered the Diana Bloom collaboration for Christmas. The birds, oh, it's stunning. The Christmas bird one. That's ordered, but I don't think that's shipping to November. And the holiday countdown is also shipping soon. They're a little bit behind. Caroline and Carrie were saying they're a little bit behind, but they're getting the shipments out. I think the whole tariff situation in the US is really throwing things off for shipping. I know a lot of small businesses. One of my neighbors, she does candles, and she has to ship to the States, and it's been a freaking nightmare for her. It's just been so stupid and chaotic. But anyways, and I might do some more work on Jane Wood. It's on the frame for the floor stand. I can just sit down and do some stitches. I might start the Biscornu tonight. I'll see how I feel. And I think that's it for plans. And then I got to figure out what I'm taking to Stitch North. I usually take something that's not, projects that aren't too intensive, and then I can stitch in a Nerge hoop thing. Got my table gifts pretty much ready to go. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it. So prep for Stitch North, start the Biscornu, finish the scissor fob. I'm going to finish that. I definitely should finish that. And then I've got work stuff and other stuff to do. So that is it. And I've got some sourdough rising. I have to do the second knead and then second rising so that I can bake it. This is my rustic rye sourdough. And Thanksgiving weekend's a good weekend to do that. Anyways, I think that's it. I think I've rambled long enough. I hope you are able to create some magic with needle, thread, and fabric whenever you can. Lord knows I've had a whenever you can. Sometimes it's every day, and the last 2 to 3 months has been whenever I can. And that's okay. Things are settling down now. Other than Stitch North, I don't have any big trips planned. I will not be attending Stitch North Spring 2026 because I do have a very, very big trip planned with Laura and Amanda. Amanda's never been overseas, so we're going overseas to visit Laura, and we're going to see some of the British Isles. We're going to start off, we're doing a cruise, starting off in Norway and working our way through the British Isles and end up in London. Laura will take a train home and we'll spend a couple days in London before heading back to Canada. Amanda really wants to see the tower, so we're going to make a point of seeing that on our own instead of a shore excursion, just because I prefer doing something like that on my own as opposed to a group controlled tour. Anyways, so that's it. Happy stitching, and hopefully I will have another Flosstube in early November after I get back from Stitch North and share everything that I got, what I did, and there will definitely be some haul. Take care.